Imagine walking into a perfectly quiet classroom. Like, the kids are well behaved, pencils are moving, everyone's following the rules. You'd probably think, wow, this is a massive success story.
Yeah, I mean, most people would think so.
Right. But actually, it might be a huge red flag. So, welcome to today's deep dive. We are exploring the Ecology of Education framework, and it really fundamentally changes how we view learning. Because
Right.
typically, we treat schools like a factory assembly line, right? You just put the student on the belt, apply some pressure, run them through standardized tests, and out pops a graduate.
Right, exactly. It's a model built entirely on, well, compliance and control. But the research we're diving into today argues that education isn't a factory at all. I
Mm.
mean, it operates much more like an ecosystem.
Okay, let's unpack this.
So the core shift here is moving towards systems thinking. Like in an ecosystem, outcomes aren't forced by just applying pressure from the top down. They emerge naturally when you actually create the right conditions.
Wait, if we're looking at education as an ecosystem, what does that actually look like in practice?
Well, a really great way to understand this is to look at what happens when its different levels fail. So let's start at the classroom level, which is supposedly all about engagement. When that fails, you get exactly what you described in the intro, which is performative compliance.
Hold on, I have to push back here for a second. Isn't compliance kind of necessary? I mean, if kids are just running wild, nobody learns anything. How is a quiet, compliant classroom a bad thing?
Because if kids are just, keeping their heads down to avoid trouble and get a decent grade, they aren't really taking the intellectual risks required for actual growth.
Oh, so it's like an illusion of learning.
Exactly. They're just going through the motions.
Ah, okay. So if you've ever sat in a corporate training seminar just nodding your head to get through it, you've experienced performative compliance.
Spot on. That's a classic classroom failure. So moving up, the school level focuses on belonging, and that fails through what they call programmatic silos. Think isolated initiatives instead of a shared culture.
Meaning like, hey, we do anti-bullying on Tuesdays, but nobody actually talks to each other the rest of the week.
Yeah, exactly that. And then there's the district level, which is focused on alignment. That usually breaks down due to bureaucratic friction.
Like too much red tape.
Right. Think of like a teacher who wants to try an innovative new reading method but has to fill out 3 weeks of paperwork just to get the books approved. It completely exhausts the staff.
Wow. And there's one more level, right? The community.
Right. Finally, at the community level, the goal is partnership. But the common failure there is a trust gap. Schools will often just blame families for not showing up rather than actively removing the barriers that are keeping them away in the first place.
You know, when you lay it out like that, from the disconnected student to the exhausted teacher to the alienated parent, the root of all these failures isn't just a bad curriculum, it's a total breakdown of human connection.
That is the central thesis here, really.
Right.
Trust is the actual engine of the entire ecosystem. It works as this recursive cycle.
Recursive meaning it feeds into itself.
Right. When there is high trust, teachers and students feel safe to take meaningful risks. And those risks lead to better practices, which drive better outcomes. And those better outcomes, well, they build even more trust.
And when there isn't trust.
Low trust systems, on the other hand, they just double down on rules and completely stagnate.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting for me. How do you actively inject trust into a stagnant system? You can't just send out a memo that says, starting Monday, everyone trust each other.
No, definitely not. But you can design for it. The sources highlight 3 high-leverage moves. The first one is wise feedback. This means a teacher holds incredibly high academic expectations, but explicitly tells the student, look, I'm giving you these critical notes because I believe you are completely capable of meeting the standard.
Oh, wow. That totally changes the dynamic from just criticism to actual coaching.
Exactly. And the second move is looping, which is keeping students and teachers together for multiple years.
Oh, it's like skipping the awkward first dates of a new school year. You don't have to spend a month figuring out how everyone learns. You already know each other, so you immediately dive into deep learning.
Right. That relational continuity really accelerates academic growth. And then the third move is two-eyed seeing. This is the practice of braiding indigenous community knowledge with Western science and measurement.
Can you give me an example of what that actually looks like? Because two-eyed seeing sounds a bit like academic jargon.
Sure, yeah. Imagine teaching biology. Instead of just memorizing the cellular structure of a local plant for a test, which is the standard Western science approach, you also bring in a community elder to explain how that plant has been used for generations to sustain the local ecosystem.
Ah, so you're using both lenses to build relevance, which then builds trust with the community.
Exactly. But of course, shifting a system away from that factory efficiency toward trust-based relationships, it has to cause some friction.
I'd imagine so. People like their standardized tests.
They do. The framework emphasizes that these are tensions you have to manage, not problems you can just perfectly solve. You constantly have to balance standardization against relevance, transactional models against relational ones, and efficiency versus trust.
Right, because top-down mandates feel very efficient to an administrator, but they completely fail in the classroom without trust.
Spot on. If we connect this back to the bigger picture, the bottom line is really clear. Fragmented systems fail, and aligned systems succeed. Systems drive the outcomes, and trust is the ultimate lever that makes the whole ecosystem thrive.
So what does this all mean for you listening at home? Well, if trust and belonging are the true drivers of academic success, here's a thought to take with you. How would we fundamentally redesign our physical school buildings to optimize for actual connection rather than the surveillance and control of an assembly line?